In 1950s, Venezuela had the fourth highest GDP per capita in the world, higher than Germany, higher than Japan. Its capital, Caracas, was a cultural and financial hub, often called the Paris of South America. Oil was flowing, money was everywhere. It looked unstoppable. Fast forward to today, and the same country suffers from mass poverty, hyperinflation, and one of the largest refugee crises in the world. Over 7 million people have fled. Doctors have become delivery drivers, and entire families now depend on remittances, money sent from abroad, just to survive. How does a country go from the richest to one of the poorest in just one generation? This video isn't about one country, it's about how wealth, real or imagined, can be a trap. How leaders can seduce a nation with prosperity and slowly, systematically bleed it dry. Venezuela's story is dramatic, yes, but it's not unique. In this video, we'll dissect Venezuela's economic rise and collapse, from oil-powered glory to total financial breakdown. And along the way, you'll see patterns that apply far beyond South America, patterns that could affect any country, even yours. Let's go back. In the early 20th century, Venezuela discovers oil, not a little, a lot. By the 1920s, it was already one of the world's top oil exporters. By the 1970s, oil made up over 90% of its exports. Billions of dollars flowed into the government overnight. And what did they do with it? They built highways, airports, housing. They imported luxury cars, European fashion, foreign food. The middle class exploded. The poor began to dream. Why build when you can buy? Why plan when you can spend? The government funded everything with oil money. Education, medicine, subsidies, imports. In 1976, Venezuela nationalized oil production. PDVSA, the state oil company, became a titan. It wasn't just rich, it felt unstoppable. For many Venezuelans, it felt like they'd won the lottery. But here's the thing about lottery winners. Without a plan, most go broke. Venezuela's oil wealth created an illusion that the economy was strong. But under the surface, it was dangerously fragile. The government stopped investing in other industries. Agriculture, neglected. Manufacturing, ignored. Almost everything was imported, and it all depended on oil staying expensive. At the same time, corruption started rotting the system. Officials pocketed millions, bribes were standard. PDVSA, once a respected energy company, slowly turned into a cash machine for the elite. But when oil prices stayed high, no one complained. Then came the 1980s. Oil prices dropped hard. Inflation rose. Debt piled up. The middle class shrank. In 1989, the government tried to remove fuel subsidies. The result, mass protests. The streets of Caracas exploded in rage. Hundreds were killed in riots now known as El Caracazo. Suddenly, Venezuela's glossy surface shattered, and a nation that once danced on oil money burned with frustration. In 1992, a young army officer named Hugo Chávez launched a failed coup. By 1999, he was elected president. He came from the slums. He spoke like the people. He promised to end corruption, punish the rich, and lift the poor. And at first, he delivered. He launched massive social programs called missions. Free healthcare, free education, food subsidies. He called it 21st century socialism, funded once again by oil. The people loved him. Approval ratings soared. But behind the scenes, institutions were being dismantled. Checks and balances eroded. The Supreme Court was packed. Independent media silenced. Private businesses were seized. Foreign investment fled. And oil prices, they stayed high for a while, but not forever. From 2004 to 2013, Venezuela was booming on paper, but there was a catch. Instead of saving oil profits, the government spent recklessly. Chávez gave away cheap oil to allies. Domestic production dropped. PDVSA became bloated and inefficient. Meanwhile, imports surged. Everything from milk to medicine was brought in using oil money. But that meant no oil, no essentials, and in 2013, Chávez died. He left behind a country dependent on one resource, with no backup plan. His successor, Nicolás Maduro, inherited the illusion, but not the oil prices. Because in 2014, the global oil market crashed, and so did Venezuela. To pay the bills, Maduro did the unthinkable. He printed money and kept printing. By 2018, inflation hit 1.7 million%. Prices exploded like popcorn in a microwave. Every 19 days, they doubled. People were paid in bricks of worthless cash. Bread cost billions. A bag of rice was a luxury. Hospitals shut down. Medicine vanished. People starved. And the government said, everything is under control. They launched a new currency, then another. None worked. GDP shrank by more than 75%. That's worse than the Great Depression, worse than war zones. By 2019, 9 out of 10 Venezuelans were living in poverty. It wasn't just an economic crisis, it was a collapse of dignity. This isn't just numbers, it's people. A mother walking hours to find food for her child, a doctor operating with no anesthesia, a student dropping out to search for clean water. And then came the exodus. By 2023, over 7 million Venezuelans have fled, one of the largest migrations in modern history. Many walked across borders with nothing but a backpack. They became janitors, cleaners, laborers. The country lost its professionals, its engineers, its scientists, its future. And those who stayed survived on money sent from relatives abroad. This is what economic collapse looks like, up close. So what truly destroyed Venezuela? It wasn't just oil, it wasn't just Chávez, it wasn't just socialism. It was the belief that wealth is permanent, that if the money's flowing today, it will flow tomorrow. The country never built systems, only slogans, never allowed disagreement, only obedience, never planned for winter, only celebrated summer. They silenced critics, punished entrepreneurs, and traded self-reliance for state dependency. It's a pattern we've seen before, and we will see again. Because collapse doesn't arrive like a storm, it arrives like a whisper, hidden in bad policy, silenced warnings, and the comfort of we're too rich to fail. And like every empire that thinks it's invincible, it fell. Venezuela still has oil, still has beauty, still has people fighting to rebuild, but the scars remain, and the lesson is carved into history. Wealth is not strength, oil is not strategy, and no nation, no matter how rich, is safe from the consequences of ignoring its foundations. What happened in Venezuela isn't new. Rome collapsed under its own weight too. Same patterns, same warnings. Tap the screen to watch the rise and fall of Rome's economy before history repeats.